Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session of MFile's Quick Tips Advanced Column. If I could just get a quick confirmation that you can hear me, if you can raise your hand, if you can hear my voice, that will get a confirmation that my audio is working correctly. Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, we are good to roll. Okay, what are we going to be covering today? What is a column? Great question. I'll be answering that. And add, remove additional columns. And I'll go through the process of going through that. Also, you can change the column order, how they appear left to right. And then if you get everything all confused and trying some really cool stuff, but you want to get back to what it was before, I'll show you how to reset that column view. You can also use columns inside of your personal as well as common views. Let's get started. What is a column? Well, basically the definition in the good old Webster Dictionary is a vertical column of information. And more than likely it will be in like a table type form. Now, inside of MFiles, when you do a search, you're going to get your results with the data appearing in columns, like at the bottom of my screenshot here. Now, to access some of the controls that I'll be showing you, you need to right-click in the column header. If your mouse is not exactly there, you won't see exactly the same choices that I'm showing you. Okay, let's get into the actual demonstration. So I have my MFiles here, and what I'm going to do here real quickly is I want to do a quick search. So I'm going to do a search for applications. It's in my history there, and I initiated that. The first thing you need to know is that you can actually control the sorting within the column as well. So if you go to this header where it says name, I can change the order that it is appearing in that column. I can do size. I can do score. So a lot of different things with that. Now to add, excuse me, to add or remove to my column, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go insert column. Now what you see here is a breakdown and it's trying to give you an alphabetical representation. So the first area is going to be the grouping of A to C with those properties on my metadata card. Then I got C to E, and as I go down. Now, the property that I want to insert into my column is going to be the state that it is in the workflow. So if I look at my choices here, I want to go down to my R. Then when I move over to the right, I'm going to select state. Now, notice that got added to the end. So now it's showing the different states that these applicants are in. Now, if I wanted to remove something, like let's say I don't need the score or the size. So I'm going to go to my column heading again and right click. And now what I want to do is I want to go down to choose columns. Let's say I wanted to just remove one. Great question. You see this is grayed out. How come it's grayed out? It's because I need to right click on the column that I want to remove. So I'm going to remove score. Now I want to remove size, and I'll do that the other way. So I'm going to right click in the column header in a blank area. I'm going to say choose columns. This gives me the capability of removing a column just by unmarking the checkbox. It also gives me the capability of reordering the columns as well. So if I take a look here, I can take state and I'm going to move that up and I'm going to have it just below the name. So from left to right, the first thing we're going to see is name, then we're going to see the state that that item is in the workflow. I'm going to click OK, and you can see that change. You can also change the size of the columns. Now, one of the things that a lot of people ask, okay, that's really cool, great, but do I have to do this every time? So I'm going to click home here real quickly. If I go back into that search that I just did, you can see that the settings within my column held. Pretty cool. Now, the next item was, what if I do some really wacky stuff in my columns and I get it to a point where I want to go back to where the default settings are? Great question. How do we do that? By pressing your Alt key brings up the menu bar. You go up to View, and down here you have something where it says Reset Display Settings to the default. Now, let's assume you forget how to get to the menu bar. Remember, the menu bar is just another method of navigation. I can go to this big white space and I can right click and I can go to Reset Display Settings to the default. When I do that, it asks me confirmation. I'm going to say, please do so. Notice what happened. We're back to where we started from. Just that simple. I'm going to click home. The next thing I want to talk about, excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, is that you can control the columns within your personal views. So if we go to my vendor invoices here, if I wanted to add the vendor invoice number, I'm going to right click inside of here, insert a column, and this is going to be the vendor invoice. Go down to our vendor invoice number. There we go. I'm going to reorder it. So that's going to be choose columns. I'm going to move the vendor invoice number up. I'm going to unmark size and click OK. Now, that reset that I did in the search would not impact the personal view column settings. If I need to reset my view or my column settings in a view, you need to do that inside of the view. Okay, let's work with another view here. So I'm going to go to Pictures with Groups. Now, the first thing I want to do here is I want to add a column. So I'm going to go to Insert Column, and I'm going to say Pictures Taken By. So we're going to go down into my P's, Picture Taken By. There we go. I'm going to reorder the column. I'm going to click OK. Actually, I'm going to reorder that just a little bit more. I want to put that at the very top. Okay. Or the very far left. I'm going to change the column width a little bit here. Perfect. Okay, what I want to do now is I'm going to do something where I'm going to add a little bit more to it. So what I want to do is I want to sort. So I'm going to go by group by first letters. When I do that, what it's going to do is it's going to take the individual that took the picture, their first name, and actually take that letter and put them in an order. Pretty slick. So I'm adding some sorting into my view along with my columns. Pretty nice. Now you can also go, I'm going to actually remove that, and to do that, I right click and I'm going to remove the current grouping level. Now I can actually filter by the photographer. So this is where you're using a personal view, columns, and a personal view within a view all together. So if I right click here, I'm going to do something called a group by, but I'm going to define it. So notice it shows that I'm inside of a personal view, but I'm defining a grouping level. So I'm going to do picture taken by, and again, I'm going to do picture taken by. I'm going to click OK. I'm not going to show empty folders. Click OK and apply. So now what it's doing is it's showing me all my photographers that have taken pictures. So I've got, let's go to Mike Larson. Mike Larson's taken a lot of pictures. I can see Jim Legg. I can see Danica. Now, if I wanted to then do that, if I have a lot of photographers, I can then add that grouping level where I can do by first letter, and then it'll take the first letter in their name and group it together. So I got a Danica, and then I got somebody in Greg. You notice that I'm going up here to go back. It's just a way to save time. I could also use the back arrow here as well. Now, let's say I get to a point where I want to remove everything here. I right click, remove current grouping level. So now we're back here. I have to repeat that step one more time. And now I'm back to where I am. Now, if I wanted to reset this to the default, I right click and I can do my reset. And then I'm back to the default. Just that easy. Now, what I want to do at this point is open it up for questions. And I did have one come in here, and it's a really good question. How do you know what you can pick for data in a column? Great question. Basically, you're looking at the data that's on your metadata card. So a lot of times what I tell people, let me go back to my search for applications. Let me pick John Doe here. So what I would recommend doing is doing a pop out the metadata card, or if you want, you could take a screenshot of it and store it in like Microsoft Word or something. Then you can see the data that you're working with. And then when you go in and let's say we want to do the column, I can insert my column and now I can see my metadata card. Well, I got to move it a little bit here. Got to move it a little bit more. But I can see the data at the same time that I'm trying to add it into my column. So if I wanted to do, let's say for example here, a department, and you can find that information and then add it to your column. Great question. Are there any other questions out there? Taking a look at my chat window here, I am not seeing anything. What I'd like to do is close things up. Our next mFiles quick tip is going to be June 18th. Again, it's the second Tuesday of the month, and this one is going to be dealing with permissions. There's a lot to learn about permissions, and I'll sort of scratch the surface on what you can do with permissions and how you can check to see how permissions are set. At the end of this webinar, there will be a survey. Please take a moment, let us know what we can do, what type of topics you might be looking for in the future. Also, if you scan the QR code there, that it will take you to the registration page for the webinars. What I'd like to do is thank everybody for joining today. Have a great Tuesday. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.